Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel and tap the notification bell. I would appreciate it majorly. So I'm sitting here just sort of watching this WFAA, I guess ABC, has the entire day's court of day 2 of the Amber Guyger Murder Trial, and the testimony from several people. One from one of the first officers that arrived there. Another witness is the person who lives immediately across the hall um, Botham Jean, and another person who lives in the building who actually was parking the same time that Amber Guyger pulled up herself on the 4th floor. And this individual lives on the 4th floor and lives a few doors down, or I'm not exactly sure how far he lives from Botham Jean. But the part of this guy's testimony, and I'll go over a little bits of each of those persons' testimonies, the things that I thought were the most important. And definitely after hearing testimony from everybody, my position, I don't really have a position, but it's hasn't changed at all. That I have no idea how you get to murder in this. I don't see how that. And I continue to think that it just seems like the prosecutors aren't even, like, they're not even saying what they believe she did. Like, they're not even, it's like they're not just flat out saying it wasn't a mistake. And I don't know, it's just the strangest thing, like basically suggesting she should have known that it wasn't her apartment, but she didn't. So it almost is irrelevant that she should have known, to some extent. I mean, the fact that somebody died which is obviously awful, makes it so hard for you to say that's irrelevant. But it just is, though, still, because she still was just mistaken, no matter what. No matter how you get to that mistake. I guess if you're overly tired or not overly tired, that makes some kind of a difference. But even that, she didn't know that it wasn't her apartment. She thought it was her apartment, and that I just don't know. I mean, all this round and round, um, I'm doing it. That's just the bottom line. And if that's the case, it's almost just like it's just an accidental shooting, an accidental. I don't even know how you categorize that, and it's not murder for sure. You know, I'm going to play this guy's testimony in a second. I just want to get these things off my head while I know them. It sounds like I'm just dying to defend this woman, and that I'm making all these excuses because she's white, or a white woman, and I sound like, like I'm just bending myself into pretzels to defend the white person over the black person. But it's not true. It's not. I'm just trying to be sincere, so. The other thing is that they keep when the prosecutors were talking to one of the officers, that one of the first officers, I think his name's Michael Lee, that responded to it and gave CPR to Botham Jean. And a lot of and they showed his body cam, which I'm not going to go through the hassle of showing you. I'm sorry, but you can, it'll be linked in the description. A lot of the emphasis is on proper police procedure, and many times, not even just with the officer, they ask these witnesses if they hear anything like hands up, show me your hands, things like that. But that's for, first off, you're basically putting her on a separate standard because she's an officer, and so she's expected to do things that an officer was doing. But she was just going home, and she wasn't like going to an arrest, like where she's prepared for, for a potential encounter, some kind of criminal encounter. It's not like she was going on an arrest where she's ready for that. She was surprised. That's the whole thing. She wouldn't necessarily be, in the frame of mind of like, weapon in a, and have the time to be ready for that. She got surprised. It was a surprise when she went into an apartment that wasn't hers, but she thought it was. And so it's, these standards of like, show me your hands and things like that, that's for officers that are going on an arrest, are ready for that, and they're, just, in a procedural mode. But when you're just completely surprised walking into an apartment that's nearly dark, um, and you just have seconds to determine what's going on, and somebody's coming at you. The other thing that was in the body cam is it looks like he was, maybe I will bring that up. He was even wearing ear pods, and so he probably couldn't hear whatever she was saying, and it was dark. The lights were all off except for the big screen TV. He had his laptop on like some kind of like ottoman, almost like exactly like I have here. All right, so I'll get to the body cam, or maybe just show you like a little still shot of where they are and where he was in relation to, you know, where he was sitting and the doorway and stuff. So, but here, let me just play this dude talking about the doors and how they lock, because I was shocked to hear this dude basically explain it plain as day. And this is the prosecutor asking him these questions. So sometimes I think these prosecutors, this is all sort of just, it's just political. And this is just, they're just going through this. They almost want her to be found not guilty. I know that sounds crazy, but because the prosecutor asked this dude, I'm not stopping, dude, about the doors, and this guy clears it all up right here, right here.
The doors, we've had several witnesses that live there, and I've just neglected to ask them. So the way that the doors are set up at the Southside Flats, do you have like a handle at the bottom?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so.
Okay. Do you not remember how the doors are set up?
They're programmed, so you put in a key and you turn it. If it is not your key, it will blink red, and if it is your key, you can see it blinks green. And then once you turn in, I'm not sure on the handle, like how exactly the handle is and all, but you open the door and you go in. And if you leave the door, it will just shed with a bit of a sound because of the weight. So if you want to hold it or have it open without getting closed, you need to put something or hold it. Otherwise, it will just close out with a bang.
Okay, so the door is either weighted or has a mechanism where it will at least attempt to close on its own.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm not doing this very well, but here's the question: if you walk into your apartment and if you don't turn the deadbolt, is the door open? Can a person just walk in?
Yeah, they need to still what sort of handle I cannot remember, but they still need to turn the handle to open the door or to push the door.
Right.
It's not like it's automatically open or anything like that.
No, and I get that. I understand that. The point that I'm still off trying to make is it's been awful. If you have not engaged the deadbolt, in other words, the door doesn't lock itself, right?
No.
You have to lock it from the inside if you want it to be locked.
Correct.
Okay. That's what I want to get.
Okay, that makes sense. I was trying to still remember on what deadbolt is, but yeah.
Thank you so much.
No. All right, dude. That's it. I don't know how many times I heard people, argue over this and say that she could not have gotten into that apartment without him letting her in, or that they're self-locking once they close. And he just said, flat out, point blank. I think I've even seen people make videos who live in those South Side flats say that, say the opposite of what he just said under oath. That basically it locks on its own. As soon as it closes, it's locked. and that they're self-closing because they're so heavy. I believe that. But he just said basically, unless you turn around and engage the deadbolt, or I guess put the key in from the inside to lock it from the inside without the deadbolt, it remains unlocked. So basically, the door was unlocked. So when she went to go put her key in, even if it flashed red and the key in the door was unlocked, it opened for her as soon as she turned the handle. It's a long explanation for it, but that's one question that so many people have that is resolved right there. All right, so if I can, and that's Michael Lee. That's one of the officers that he's questioning, and you can't. Let's see if I can't. That's one of these things right here. I think that's ear pods. That's Botham Jean, and he's being given. It's obviously terrible. So sad, man. And being given CPR there. Okay, that's what I want to see. I mean, the lights are on now, but this is the night off, and he was watching TV on his big screen TV. He had his laptop here. He was eating ice cream in a bowl. I had heard cereal in another report, but I think it was ice cream. So he was sitting on the couch, and I think all the lights were off, and he had earbuds in, So, when she went into the door, he got up and went towards her. If she said something to him, he didn't hear her or didn't make it out well enough because he had earbuds in, and he's in his own home. And but she's a police officer with a gun, and even though she's a police officer, she got surprised, by somebody being in an apartment she thought was hers, and so she just raised it. She shouldn't have shot, right away, but it's a situation where if she was in her own apartment, it would have been totally justified, and she wouldn't have to necessarily say, "Show me your hands" or whatever, if somebody's moving towards you and they're not responding to whatever you're saying because they have earbuds in, you know. And yeah, and that's it, dude. I mean, um, I don't know where. I mean, this will go on for a while. We'll hear from her, and I'm sure that'll be tell some of it. So this dude here, there's other witnesses right here. This dude lives right across the street. I mean, right across the hall from him. And actually, one of the things he was asked about was earlier in the day, around 2 p.m. The property management or the leasing agents, people that work for the apartment complex, came to his door about a noise complaint, and actually came to both Botham Jean's and his door. He lives right across the hall from him, and inquired about a noise complaint. And actually, he said that's the first time he ever met Botham Jean. And he had only lived at the apartment complex for about a month. He's never seen Amber Guyger before. And it was just that's it. There wasn't much more to it. He thought maybe because he openly admits that he had been smoking weed in his apartment before, and so did Botham Jean, that maybe that it really wasn't a noise complaint, that they were coming about that, and they were just saying it, saying it was about a noise complaint. So, and he didn't think much of it, and that was pretty much it. He describes, what because he was getting off the elevator right around when this happened. He was in the hallway. He's pointing out from basically a diagram of the layout of the apartment complex, and he comes out of the elevator and he goes to the corner where it takes a turn and heads towards the doorway, where Botham Jean lives and where he lives. And he's at the corner and he hears what he describes as two people who are surprised, in a surprised encounter. That's what he calls it, surprised to meet each other, something like that. I wish I could remember the exact words. Like they surprised each other, is what he said. And he hears he hears people, but he can't make out what either one of them are saying because both are saying some things at the same time, something like that. And then he hears the two gunshots, right away. So, I mean, he gets emotional at one point actually, and they have to take a recess because he's just talking about, even though he had never met Botham Jean that that Botham Jean used to sing, and he could hear Botham Jean from his apartment sing like gospel music, and it's just very sad. And but another thing he was asked about was, has he ever been confused and gone to the wrong floor in the wrong room? And he has. He's gotten off the elevator at the wrong floor. He said he even went to a place, an apartment, and put his key in before he realized that he was at the wrong door. And I think at one point he says it happened more than once. One time he noticed, and then he realized because he saw the vase at the corner, and that vase wasn't on his floor. A big vase, which is at eye level. I mean, people making a huge thing about the red carpet, but unless she's looking down, she just didn't see it. I mean, that's just all there is to it. I mean, everyone is, even the prosecutors. They're making, they're pointing to, like, I don't know if that has anything to do with the law. It very well may. If she, like, because she should have known it wasn't her apartment, that makes it negligent homicide. I don't think that does, though. I think she either made a mistake or she didn't. And if she didn't, then it was just flat out murder, and she was there to murder him. And they're so far from that. And that's kind of what I'm saying. So this individual lives on that same floor too, and he actually was pulling up, parking right when she parked, and he noticed her because he says she was driving fast, and she has a pickup truck. He has a pickup truck, so he saw her get out of her truck, and I think she backed into her spot, and he said she was speeding. I don't know if I just said that. And he noticed her because she was a police officer, and he said he didn't realize that a police officer even lived in their building or on his floor, and that she was moving quickly, just walking quickly. She had a bag in one hand. He's asked if she had a phone, if she was on her phone. He says he couldn't remember, and he heard the shots as well. Once he got into his apartment, they both were getting out of their trucks at the same time. They entered different entrances, though. Different parts of the same floor in the garage. And then the defense attorneys were cross-examining him and asking him about, because he spoke to multiple investigators, and they were asking him, did you tell one of the Texas Rangers that you had trouble with your key locking your door, and that sometimes you would have to shake it to get it to lock from the inside? And he said he didn't remember telling the Texas Rangers, saying that. The defense attorney seemed to be thrown off by that and kind of kept going, trying to come back to it and get the exact question that the Texas Ranger had asked, that had discussed this with him, and it kind of just fell apart. And then he started to ask about recent crimes in the area that he had mentioned. This individual supposedly with one of the investigators, and then the judge actually intervened. Well, the prosecutors objected, and the judge said, "You know what? You don't need to object because I don't see the relevance of this." And I think the defense attorneys were basically suggesting that there's been some crimes in the area, some burglaries in the area, and which would kind of heading down the path that people might have been on edge of, there had been a rash of burglaries recently. I don't know. That's what it seemed like he was suggesting. And that's pretty much the story there. That's the story there. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.